Welcome to Section 420, Talking Yankees, the podcast. Well, Jasson Dominguez makes a little Yankee history, the youngest Yankee to hit 3 home runs in a game, man. And it seemed like the Martianing hopefully is waking up there, as we've been waiting for him to really, really come on the stage here in 2025. Again, getting the left field job, but getting a starting job. Finally he's getting playing time there, and I can't say it's really been a disappointment, but finally having a breakout game where hopefully maybe it's the launching pad where he could really be more influential on this offense there. So we'll focus on the Dominguez performance. Again, it's the 3 home run performance there. Plus, go over some other Yankees news and notes. Maybe some follow-ups in terms of Carlos Carrasco, who, as we all know, is DFA, but looks like he is back with the team. So if you missed him, he's back. Don't worry, he's still in the Yankee universe. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Section 420 Talking Yankees, the podcast, and there's also the YouTube version of the show. And as I just mentioned, we kind of highlighted Carrasco earlier, and I kind of mentioned that he was designated for assignment where he could be picked up on the waivers or the Yankees could trade him, but if that didn't happen, he could be back in pinstripes. So, and I, left it out that it is a possibility that Boone, did like his stuff still, so it wasn't out of the realm he would come back, and he came back. So if you want to see me foreshadowing that a little bit, you want to go to the YouTube episode, search for Section 420 Talking Yankees and subscribe there as well. But getting back to Jasson Dominguez, not say he's been a disappointment. Just means he's been all right. He's been part of some rallies there, and he has had been part of some late inning rallies and stuff like that. But not really, taken off yet. Before he had the 3-run home run performance, stuck on 2 home runs, which you would think that a guy with his ability and getting a lot of playing time, he'd be a little bit better than that. I know, obviously, he doesn't usually get a full 9 innings. A lot of times they're yanking him out for defensive purposes, whether putting Trent Grisham out there or putting Cody Bellinger or kind of moving some guys around. We don't know the whole story with Dominguez. Obviously not still known as a really great fielder or, an average fielder. So, but, again, he hasn't been garbage, so you can't really, hate on him or any, really critique him there. But obviously you're still not comfortable with him. If you have a late inning game, a 1-run game there where, I guess now Luke Weaver being the closer, you don't want a defensive miscue in left field that turns a single to a double or a ball getting botched there. So you still don't trust Dominguez to that point. But nevertheless, I think overall he's been all right. Again, he's getting his first real full crack at being at the major league level and getting a full-time position, being the left fielder there. But all that being said, you're still a little surprised that he's only kind of stuck on 2 home runs, especially when you have guys like Trent Grisham doing what he's doing, Ben Rice doing what he's doing. Even take someone like Cody Bellinger, who I've kind of highlighted that really not off to the greatest of starts, a little bit of a disappointment of sorts, but, has come on a little bit lately. But even he, with 5 home runs there, kind of, look up and see Jasson Dominguez only has 2 home runs. You're like, hey, what's going on here? You figure he'd be more of an integral part of his offense. Well, he finally had that moment, and of course that was the opening game in Oakland, again in the Sacramento little minor league park, which is kind of going to house the Athletics until the new stadium is built out there in Vegas. So it's obviously like, it's a minor league park, but technically major league type distance. So I'm not saying these were cheap home runs. I mean, the right field out there was 380 there, so these weren't cheap home runs. Ends up hitting 3 home runs, and not only because hitting the 3 home runs is impressive, but as we know with Jasson Dominguez, being a switch hitter, hitting 2 home runs from the left-handed side and then 1 home run from the right-handed side. So, showing that Mickey Mantle type or that Mark Teixeira type of, or Bernie Williams type of switch hitting power, as well as when I throw Jorge Posada in there, as well as even Nick Swisher. Again, Yankees have a history of home run hitting switch hitters there, and Jasson Dominguez hopefully is the next one to take that mantle there. Again, having the 3 home run performance there, which kind of ups his numbers right now if you look at it, at 243, which, all right, yeah, it's not great, not terrible. At least it's over 200 under like some other Yankees that are kind of struggling around the 200 line or under there. And now this brings up to 5 home runs, 19 RBIs. But it'd be really good, this for the moment for Jasson Dominguez to really maybe be more of an integral part of this offense where maybe they could bat him 4th or 5th in that lineup. Also, we know that Stanton's working his way back. He's been taking some batting practice. We don't have a timetable on him there. But if you look at that heart of the Yankee order there, I mean, you could go Aaron Judge, you could go Cody Bellinger, but, Ben Rice a little bit there. But after that, a little bit, it gets kind of thin in terms of home run power, driving-wise. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt, obviously he had a home run also in this game, but only up to 3 home runs. But, he's kind of a guy, he sprays the the ball around a little bit. You're not looking for him for power. So really until Stanton comes back, you're still looking for someone to really jump in there and really provide some power. Now we've gotten so far an unexpected season from Trent Grisham. When you think of him as a home run hitter, but he's been bopping there. But really, it's Jasson Dominguez who you expect to be a little bit better in this role, in that role and providing some power for the Yankees. When he came up 2 years ago, so what he did there. I mean, he played only for like 8 games and he had 4 home runs, and obviously his first career home run over Justin Verlander. He took a ball opposite field there. So even in a short spurt there, we saw some power there. So you were kind of expecting a little bit of that to start the season. We really didn't get that. Again, he's also been hitting in part of some late inning rallies, so I'm not going to say he's a disappointment, but you really want to see him sort of start taking off and really be more of an integral part of this offense where we expected him to be, kind of be the future of the franchise. Kind of maybe a position where he's hitting so well, then you can move him up maybe to the 5th or 6th spot in the lineup. Right now, he's been delegated to about the 7th to 8th hole. Of course, again, he's been hitting okay, but not really providing the power, so you really can't justify moving more up the lineup there. But hopefully, finally, this is the launching pad where he can really start taking off and kind of being that Yankee prospect we've been waiting on and hearing on for the past couple of years. And another good news about that win, obviously gets highlighted by Dominguez's home runs, but of course, a good, really probably Will Warren's best start of the year so far in 2025, going 7 1/3 innings strong, only surrendering 4 hits, 1 run, and 7 strikeouts, and with only 1 walk there. And if you want to look at the Oakland A's and say, well, it's an Oakland A's or a scrub team, I mean, they're, at least as I'm saying this right now, they're 2 games over 500, so they're not like a garbage team. I can see if there's a team that's like 15 games under 500 where it's like, okay, well, I'm not impressed by that, They're a major league team, and they're a couple of games over 500. So when you have a performance against them like that, that does merit something there. And hopefully with Will Warren, he's take off as well. And was it the motivation of Carlos Carrasco getting DFA'd, and maybe now he sees that he might be next if he doesn't, change his ways a little bit. I put him and Carrasco kind of in the same boat. They were kind of not giving the Yankees too much on length there, and a couple of quality moments here and there. A couple, Will Warren had a couple of games where he went 5 innings there and was decent, but he's also had some games where we look at the Tampa game where he couldn't even get out of the second inning, and a lot of times you only go 3 innings and stuff like that, and the Yankees have to go to the bullpen early there. You need to get more length out of him, so hopefully this is him turning the corner. Whether it was the Carrasco getting DFA'd or not, that kind of shook his boots a little bit. Hard to tell. But finally, he putting in a good performance there. He was always going to be favored over Carrasco, just the fact that, he's the young guy. He's 26. There's more upside to him versus Carrasco, who's 38, and this is kind of is what it is. So again, at least Will Warren will live another day to get a couple, at least maybe 2 or 3 more starts just based on the strength of this one there. And as I mentioned for Carrasco, back with the Yankees, again, he was DFA'd before the Tampa series at home, in which, again, another team could have picked him up on waivers. All the Yankees could have traded him away. They did neither because no one was really interested with him. The Yankees decided to bring him back, and then his next assignment now is go to AAA, which was always going to be the plan for him. When they originally signed him, the whole plan was for him to be parked in AAA. And then when you have a situation where, let's say, someone goes in the IL like a Stroman, or you have a doubleheader and you need an extra starter, or for whatever reason you have a brutal schedule, you have like 20 games in 20 days there, and you don't have any days off, and you need to bring up a starter there just for a spot start or something. That was going to be Carrasco's role anyway, so he's kind of going back to what he's doing. And since he's not going to be up here on the major league level, at least he can keep stretching himself out, working on things in the minors there. So when the Yankees do tag him to come up again, at least he's ready to go there. But right now, Carrasco back with the team, but relegated to AAA. But let's get back to Jason Dominguez with this historic performance. And again, the reason why it's historic, to become the youngest Yankee to hit 3 home runs in a game there, and just nipped Joe DiMaggio by 100 days there. So the previous record holder that for the youngest player with the 3 home runs in a game was Joe DiMaggio. Now, that was 1937. Now, he did it at the age of 22, the same as Dominguez, but 22 and 200 days. The difference with Dominguez, a little bit younger, also 22 years old, but only 91 days. So you're talking about, I guess Dominguez was 109 days younger than DiMaggio. So now, right now, Jason Dominguez sitting there in Yankee history, which, little things like that, which build up. Again, we don't put too much pressure on him, but, historical little feats and good stuff like that, which you see with Judge doing, and then, maybe Dominguez will be that next generation doing that right now. We'll see how this goes with Dominguez. Like to see him take off a little bit because he's been all right. He's been holding down his own there, but you would expect a little bit more with the power there. So, again, now he's up to 5 home runs, and it puts him a candidate to something we've been doing. This is more on the YouTube version of the show. So, if you go over to the YouTube version, that's the video version of the show there. Been taking some Yankees and, just take a little pot shots at Juan Soto and kind of comparing some Yankees, their stats to Juan Soto, who, awfully didn't get to a great start so far with the Mets, and it looks like he's, lately he's been a little bit better driving the ball and hitting some home runs there, but still, not exactly what probably the Met fan expected with to start the season with there. And we're now into like almost halfway through May there, and still some Met fans really, a little grumbling about him hitting well under 300. Finally get a little bit more power there, but still not really being the guy you thought he would be so far for the Mets there. That could change. So what I've been doing, kind of comparing to certain Yankees, such as I think it started off with Ben Rice because they're both number 22 with the Yankees. Again, Ben Rice is now is the 22 holder. Previously was Juan Soto wearing 22 for the Yankees. Then afterwards, Trent Grisham was having this really good, surprising season for the Yankees and kind of getting the playing time and delivering and having in a lot of areas better numbers than Juan Soto. And then more recently, I took someone because it was getting too easy. I took someone like who was struggling a little bit of a disappointment, you would say, and that was, of course, Cody Bellinger, who, again, not a bust, not terrible, but in some ways, not exactly thought you would be. The batting average really low, a lot of strikeouts, stuff like that. And again, he up there with power, and defensively he's been fine, been making some big plays, making two big plays that even end the game there. So again, I would say overall he's been okay for the Yankees, but certain things like the batting average, you would expect a little bit better than that. But nevertheless, even with that, even with a struggling Bellinger, you would make some cases that, he's just as equal or just, doing some things better than Juan Soto is. So now that the Dominguez is up to where he is with his numbers there, we could maybe start comparison him to Soto. Now, we're not going to do that right now, so we'll give it maybe another week or two, just let it fester and see what happens there. Again, the next I have in line there, which is why you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Probably when I film the next episode, we'll compare Soto stats to Anthony Volpe, just to see how that stack it up in terms of batting average, hits, RBIs, and all that stuff there. And then maybe after that, we'll check it and compare the Dominguez there, just out of curiosity's sake. Now, an interesting thing is that, though, if you want to take a little nugget, that's the RBIs. So right now at this moment, RBI-wise, this will be maybe a little sneak preview of that. So Juan Soto right now is sitting at 19 RBIs. Well, Jason Dominguez, who is a 22-year-old kid, and hey, 22, that was Soto's former number with the Yankees right there. What a coincidence there. He's still a kid, though. He's a minor leaguer and stuff like that. He's not the established player Juan Soto is, but Jason Dominguez also at 19 RBIs. So you take Jason Dominguez, who's making about the league minimum of peanuts, and Juan Soto making $54 million there. Right now, on this date in May, they're both sitting at only 19 RBIs. So a little kick in the shins there, just to rub it in for Met fans a little bit. And, not trying to be too much of a crybaby, but just, again, poking a little fun at Juan Soto. So that's the episode. Dominguez kind of having his 2025 breakout party. Will Warren with the best start of the season so far. Going to be important for him. Got to stay in this rotation there. And, of course, the Yankees are waiting on some guys to come back, such as Giancarlo Stanton. We're seeing him more and more taking some batting practice there. So hopefully maybe by June he could be in this lineup as well. And if you take the fact of him back in, and if Dominguez could kind of start taking off here, you're really looking at a potent Yankee lineup, which has already included Judge, who's this, again, best player in baseball right now. Trent Grisham giving you a good season. Paul Goldschmidt, way over 300 there, giving you a good season there. So really adding some power and strength to this Yankee lineup. Catch you next time.